Aliens vs Predator Requiem. Oh, how did we come to this? How did we go from two brilliantly made movie franchises of top-tier production and quality with rich storytelling and characters to, well, Aliens vs Predator Requiem? Oh, how the mighty have fallen. But, and I must stress this, if you watch Aliens vs Predator Requiem and remove the original source materials that it's based on and just see it as a fun slasher movie, it actually is a lot of fun. And unlike the first Alien vs Predator movie, this one actually has enough guts to go all out with an R rating. And this is a slasher B movie in every sense of the word, as it has forgettable, dispensable characters, many of whom are there to be killed off, with lashings of gore and blood. Released in 2007, Requiem sees the new Pred-alien monster crash landing on Earth and let loose in a small town in Colorado. Meanwhile, a lone predator is hunting down this terrifying new species, where some of the town folks who no one really cares about gets caught in the middle of this terrifying battle from beyond the stars. Yeah, it's definitely a slasher movie, one which just so happens to star both the xenomorph aliens and predators. And I can actually really get behind this, and just get lost in its B-movie antics. So with that, 10 things that you didn't know about Alien vs Predator Requiem. Or as I like to call it, Alien vs Predator Requiem for a box office dream. One that'll never happen. Let's check it out. Number 10. A course correction for Alien vs Predator. Even before the release of the first movie, Alien vs Predator was already a big property, dating back to 1990. Not only was it based on two hugely successful franchises, but it was also a huge franchise in its own right, thanks to its comic books, action figures, and video games. So when Alien vs Predator came out in 2004 and was a critical disappointment, 20th Century Fox were not yet going to give up on the franchise. After all, that first movie did still bring in lots of money. So the sequel was a sort of retaliation to many of the complaints made in regards to the first movie, and that this time the movie felt more like a brutal and violent horror movie. One major complaint the first movie got was that it felt neutered thanks to its PG-13 rating. And despite the fact that Aliens vs Predator Requiem is a direct sequel to the previous movie, it kind of feels like a reboot. It doesn't have the same look or feel of the previous movie, nor does the main cast member Sanaa Lathan as Lex return. What's interesting is this time round, the action takes place in a populated location on Earth, which was a potential idea for the previous movie, but that movie's director, the truly excellent Paul W.S. Anderson, vetoed this idea, as he found that it wouldn't make sense in the Alien timeline, as the first Alien is set in the future, and no one knows what a xenomorph alien is in that movie. On a side note, Requiem also has a focus on a teenage group of characters, where we see them getting chased and killed off, which are slasher movie tropes, which to me adds to the slasher feel of the movie. So now, for better or worse, we have xenomorph aliens causing chaos in populated modern-day Earth. Number 9. Two brothers trying to make it in Hollywood. Aliens vs Predator Requiem was directed by new-coming directing duo Greg and Colin Strauss, or as they are credited as, the Brothers Strauss. Incidentally, the brothers moved to Hollywood to try and make it as filmmakers after watching Terminator 2 Judgment Day and being blown away by it. They tried to get employment working for the special effects company Industrial Light and Magic, but they weren't successful. They did, however, manage to get a job working on the special effects for the X-Files movie, and from there they would go on to work on the special effects for many movies, including Volcano, Titanic, Terminator 3, X-Men Last Stand, and The Day After Tomorrow. The brothers even founded their own special effects company, Hydraulics, and the brothers even made a shift into directing adverts and music videos. Now, when the first Alien vs Predator movie was in the early days of production, the brothers were supposedly pitching ideas to the movie, but at the time 20th Century Fox weren't interested. However, by the time the sequel was in production, 20th Century Fox felt that the brothers were ambitious enough to make an Alien vs Predator movie. So despite never before directing a full-length studio movie, let alone a big franchise movie, they were hired as directors. Number 8. Original title. Requiem was written by Shane Salerno, whom had actually helped with the script for the first Alien vs Predator movie alongside its director Paul W.S. Anderson. But for the sequel, he became the sole writer of the movie. Now, Salerno is a talented writer who has given us enjoyable movies like Armageddon and the 2001 Shaft movie. And for the most part, as far as being a popcorn splatter movie goes, I think it does the job. To me, it only falters when the script decides to spend too much time on the boring human characters that most other people probably also aren't really interested in. Now, the first movie was kind of guilty of this too, but it's perfectly simple. Most fans don't care about the human drama, but instead just want to see aliens and predators beating the bejesus out of each other. Just put more focus on that and less on this Days of Our Lives episode that's going on here, and the audience will be eating out of your palms. Incidentally, the movie's original title was Aliens vs Predator, Survival of the Fittest, making it sound like the world's most insane aerobicizing video. Until it was changed to Alien vs Predator Requiem, probably because someone in the production liked Requiem for a Dream. I guess, I don't know. There actually seems to be two titles going on here. Some posters from certain locations refer to the movie as Aliens vs Predator 2 Requiem, whereas in other parts it's just simply known as Aliens vs Predator Requiem. I mean, yeah, look, I get it. From a studio perspective, there has to be human characters for the audience to relate to and so on and so forth. But in both the Predator and Alien movies, they just knew how to give us interesting characters and memorable characters in spades. And in my opinion, and I am an idiot, so take with this information what you will, in both Alien vs Predator movies, apart from Lex, the human characters are kind of generic and boring. Number 7. Filming location. Despite being set in Colorado in the States, filming Aliens vs Predator Requiem actually took place at Vancouver, Canada, making it both the first Alien and Predator movie to be mainly shot in Canada. The movie's shoot lasted 52 days, with filming starting September 23, 2006. While filming, directors Greg and Colin Strauss were so busy that in their spare time while not working on Requiem, they were also working on the special effects for the movies 300 and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. While filming the picture, the main Predator character was given the name Wolf. He was named after the character, the Wolf from Pulp Fiction, on the account of his skills of coming into a problem and cleaning it up without leaving a trace. And the infamous Predalien monster was given the on-set nickname of Chet. And amusingly enough, he was named after Bill Paxton's comical character Chet that he played in the 1985 comedy Weird Science. Number 6. Video game. An Aliens vs Predator Requiem video game was released to tie in with the release of the movie, in which the game actually came out before the movie's release, where enthusiastic fans of the movie get to play as the Predator and go on an adventure to kill off the alien creatures. Sounds fun enough, right? Well, no, apparently not, as the game was hated when it came out and got buried by a ton of bad reviews. Sheesh, this ain't gonna be a good day in the office. Many reviews just found the game to be meh. You know, not like it was awful or anything, but just another mediocre video game based off a movie. The graphics and look of the game were also considered poor, as was the gameplay. Many even felt that the game was actually just too damn easy. But one positive the game did get was that some gamers found it quite fun to play as the Predator. Now, the Alien vs Predator franchise actually has a long history with video games, with the first AVP game coming out in 1993, and the Strauss brothers themselves were in fact fans of the Alien vs Predator PC games. But sadly on this occasion, it seems that the Aliens vs Predator Requiem game just didn't catch on. Then again, I've never played it. For all I know, it might be the greatest video game of all time. Number 5. Several cast members from Predator 2 were offered to return. It's often been said that the original Alien vs Predator movie feels more like an Alien movie than it does a Predator movie, as it seems to show off more of the xenomorphs than it does the Predators, and that movie's director, Paul W.S. Anderson, was more of an Alien fan than he was a Predator one. However, the opposite has often been said of Aliens vs Predator Requiem, in that this time round it feels more like a Predator movie than an Alien one, or be that one that's more in favour of the Predator. For example, the Predator Alien is shown to be more tough and competent than the Xenomorphs. And to me, I always felt the music often sounds like it's paying homage to Alan Silvestri's score of the original Predator movie. And to seal the deal of Requiem being more of a Predator movie, several actors from Predator 2 were offered to return, but ultimately didn't. These include Danny Glover, who was to play the now retired cop of Mike Harrigan, and Adam Baldwin, who played Adam Garber in that movie. Incidentally, the Adam Garber character was in the original script and rewritten into the Colonel Stevens character in Requiem. There was even an idea to cast Bill Paxton as a diner chef, an original character, just to boast that Paxton has appeared in the second entries of both the Alien and Predator movies, and now the Alien vs Predator movies too. But Paxton was too busy working on other projects at the time. Had they got Bill Paxton in the movie, then that would have been awesome, and I think the appreciation of this movie definitely would have gone up. Number 4, Abandoned Intro. In the original script, there was in fact a pre-title sequence that was to show the xenomorph aliens in their natural home planet, no doubt running around like wildebeest or something like that. This would have been quite a monumental moment for the alien mythology, and the sequence was even storyboarded. But someone higher up in the production's food chain decided that such a revealing moment should be saved for the third movie in the Alien vs Predator film series. Sadly, after the disappointing release of Requiem, this planned Alien vs Predator 3 was scrapped. Still, we get to see the Predator's home planet in Requiem, so that's pretty cool, right? That's something, yeah? In addition to all of that, also at one stage in the script's development, the Predator and Xenomorph hybrid was to be killed very early on by a regular Xenomorph, and when the ship crashes, it's the Xenomorph that runs amok in Colorado instead. However, the concept of making the Predalien the movie's prominent big bad was written back into the script, as 20th Century Fox found the concept interesting. And yeah, I agree with them, as it's something different, and something to help this movie and stand out and be its own thing. Number 3, AVP Requiem may have been a little too nasty. When fans found out that the second Alien vs Predator movie was given the much needed R rating, they rejoiced and welcomed this bloodier, more violent take on this cinematic battle. However, some scenes had to be cut out, as it was felt that they were just too gruesome and horrific. Yeah, whereas the first movie was just too tame and safe, the second movie was just ridiculously over the top with how brutal it was. So certain scenes and shots were removed. However, some of these shots that were cut out were restored for an uncut version. So if you like extra guts with your serving of Alien and Predator movies, then this uncut version awaits you. Just maybe not eat beforehand. One scene that upset many of the viewers was a hospital scene, where the Predalien is in a room full of newborn babies and then attacks a pregnant woman. I think that subplot just may have been a little too icky and unpleasant for certain viewers. I can remember watching this movie for the first time and thinking to myself, so the monsters are now going after babies and pregnant women? Are you okay, Alien vs Predator Requiem? Do you have the full quid going on, mate? But yeah, look, I was young. And at the end of the day, you've got to remember it's only a movie. It's not real, and it's never worth getting upset or outraged over a movie. After all, at the end of the day, it's just theatre. Okay, it might be trashy theatre, but theatre nonetheless. Number 2, AVP Requiem is a Christmas movie. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, and the alien killings are truly brutal. So if you can believe it so, AVP Requiem is a Christmas movie, as it was released on December the 25th, 2007. So fans of these franchises can enjoy predators and xenomorphs sliding down their chimneys and giving them gifts of carnage. Now that was an interesting sentence to say. Now, when you think of classic Christmas movies throughout the history of cinema, you may think of many classics like It's a Wonderful Life and the He-Man and She-Ra Christmas special, but chances are you're not going to think of Aliens vs Predator Requiem, but yet here we are. The movie made just over $130 million on a $40 million budget, with it opening up at the number 6 spot in the box office. So although it was financially successful, there was still quite a drop in numbers, as the first Alien vs Predator movie made over $177 million. And of course, AVP Requiem was hated upon its release. A major complaint it seemed to get was its lighting and presentation. Many felt the movie was just too poorly lit and murky. And believe it or not, even the excessive violence was criticised, with it being felt that it was just too mindless and it was just there for the sake of it, and that the movie was probably only going to appeal to 13-year-olds. It was also felt that the Alien and Predator movies had now fully transformed into B-movie territories, in that these two franchises were now no longer insightful movies, posing insightful questions and philosophies, but were now just big, dumb, loud movies. Empire magazine went as far as to call it a contender for the worst movie of 2008, and it was nominated for 2 Razzies. Personally, as mentioned, if you look at Aliens vs Predator Requiem as a dumb slasher B movie, then it is fun. But from my own memory, when it came out, no one was really talking about it, or at least in my humble part of the world they weren't. The first Alien vs Predator movie still managed to generate lots of buzz, but in my particular location, Requiem sort of came and went and no one was particularly too fussed and no one was really talking about it. So what became of this spin-off series, especially after Requiem, considering that there were now 2 movies that didn't exactly appease fans or get good reviews? Number 1, Aftermath. Well, to put it bluntly, after Requiem, the Alien vs Predator gimmick had kind of died out. Yep, it fizzled. Something that was of great interest in the 90s, of which fans were begging to be made into a movie, just kind of died out with no one really noticing it. And I honestly think that that's sad, as there was so much fan anticipation to see aliens and predators fighting on screen. And I think that it could have worked. But I guess that not the best creative decisions were made at the time, and that kind of killed the promise and momentum of this franchise. Now, to be fair, the comics are still going today, but personally, I don't really hear people talking about them like I did 20 years ago, before the movies. Maybe that's because the intrigue of what the battle would look like on the big screen is now gone, or if the movies themselves killed off the interest. Who knows? But the battle is still going on. So what became of the working components of Requiem? Well, the brothers Strauss were planning a third Alien vs Predator movie, but as mentioned, the plans were scrapped after the disappointing reaction of Requiem. Apparently they had this third epic movie all planned out, but it was stopped dead in its tracks, and instead they would go on to direct the science fiction movie Skyline, which I actually quite enjoyed the first time I watched it. The brothers haven't directed a feature film since, but have acted as producers for Skyline's sequels. And their effects company, Hydraulics, would go on to create effects for movies, particularly the Marvel movies, but they haven't seemed to be working since 2020. The next movie to come out of Requiem was Predators, which came out in 2010, and acts as a direct third entry to the Predator film series, which in tone felt a lot closer to the original Predator. Then in 2012, Ridley Scott's Prometheus came out, which was followed by Alien Covenant. These 2 movies completely ignore the continuity of the Alien vs Predator movies, as these movies are set in the future and focus on the creation of the Xenomorphs, whereas in the AVP movies, the Xenomorphs already exist. And then finally, in 2018, there was a 4th Predator movie called The Predator, which I think was trying to be like a fun 1980s B movie, like Monsters Squad and Night of the Creeps. I mean, after all 3 movies were written by Shane Black. And there is an upcoming Predator movie called Prey, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. The Alien vs Predator movies have now somewhat become forgotten, like they have been distanced by the 2 franchises that had created them both, with both franchises now moving on and forgetting about the Alien vs Predator movies. Just a few weeks ago, I was at an electronic goods store and saw a box set for the Alien movies and another box set for the Predator movies, and neither box set contained the Alien vs Predator movies. So they have now become like a weird anomaly in the franchises. But these movies did happen, and they do exist. There's no point in trying to pretend like they didn't happen. But it's best to see them as an attempt to create something truly cinematically spectacular. Now, it may not have worked, but they are still fun and enjoyable B-movies. So just see them simply as that. At the end of the day, it is what it is, and it's not what it isn't. Look, just turn your brain off and leave it at the door and just watch Requiem with the knowledge that you're watching a dumb, loud B-movie. And if you can't do that, then you'll probably find that Aliens vs. Requiem is actually a lot of fun. It's not trying to be a revolutionary cinematic masterpiece like the first Alien movie, or a state-of-the-art suspense movie like the first Predator movie. But that's okay. Not all the geese can lay golden eggs. So just take it for what it is. An enjoyable guilty pleasure. Anyway, I'm Minty, and I will take Alien vs. Predator Requiem over Alien Covenant any day. Apologies to those that like Alien Covenant. See ya!